grinding every day. Long hours, no backup, no accountability. That ends now. The Empower Solopreneur Mastermind gives you one simple advantage: a weekly power session that turns isolation into domination. Every Friday morning on Zoom, you'll get real coaching and real feedback to make real moves. Join a group of driven professionals in a program designed for solopreneurs and people working at home. Stop getting stuck. Start scaling. Seats are limited. Lock in yours today at modernobserver.com/empower-mastermind.
A massive nor'easter, a major blow against Mexican drug cartels, an armed man killed at Mar-a-Lago, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. A nor'easter brought significant snow to the East Coast Sunday and continues into Monday, placing New York City under a blizzard warning for the first time in nearly a decade. New York City's tri-state area, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New England are all affected. 6 states declared states of emergency this weekend ahead of the blizzard, expected to dump up to 2 feet across the region, starting Sunday and continuing Monday. New York City declared its first old-school snow day without virtual instruction since 2019 and banned all road travel from 9 p.m. last night through at least noon today. Boston also braced for its first blizzard since 2022. A blizzard officially consists of snow and/or blowing snow, reducing visibility to a quarter mile or less for 3 hours or longer, and sustained winds of 35 miles per hour or greater, according to the National Weather Service. A North Carolina man was shot and killed by Secret Service agents and a Palm Beach County deputy after he entered the secure perimeter of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, carrying a shotgun and a gas can. 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin drove into the secured area early Sunday morning as another vehicle was exiting. When confronted by agents, Martin put down the gas can but raised the shotgun, and law enforcement fired. Martin's family reported him missing, and investigators believe he obtained the shotgun while traveling south to Florida. The president and first lady were at the White House at the time of the incident. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt praised the Secret Service's response and criticized Democrats for the partial government shutdown affecting the Department of Homeland Security. The Supreme Court dealt a blow to President Donald Trump's trade agenda on Friday, siding against him in a case challenging the legality of tariffs that have shaped global markets and U.S. supply chains. By a 6-3 vote, the majority concluded that the law cited to justify the import duties does not authorize the president to impose tariffs. Chief Justice John Roberts delivered the opinion of the court. Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh dissented. The decision is a narrow interpretation that states the law used was not used properly. It does not prohibit the president from collecting tariffs under other regulations. On the heels of the decision, Trump announced a 15% global tariff under Section 122, above our normal tariffs already being charged. Other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected, Trump said during a White House press briefing Friday afternoon. He continued, "We have alternatives, great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money and we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so." Mexican military forces killed El Mencho, the head of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, during a raid in western Mexico on Sunday. The U.S. had a $15 million bounty on the drug kingpin, whose organization was designated a foreign terrorist organization by the Trump administration last year. The killing triggered violent cartel retaliation across multiple Mexican states, with burning roadblocks, gunfire, and chaos at airports paralyzing the region. Tourists in Puerto Vallarta were told to shelter in place, and several airlines canceled flights into the area. The U.S. military confirmed it played a supporting intelligence role in the operation, though officials emphasized it was a Mexican-led effort. A former DEA chief called it one of the most significant actions in the history of drug trafficking. Trump says he's considering limited strikes against Iran. The president responded, "I guess I can say I am considering that," when asked whether the U.S. might use limited military strikes to force Iran into a deal to give up its nuclear program. On Thursday, after massing forces nearby, he said he'd decide whether to strike Iran in the next 10 to 15 days. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister said in a TV interview that Iran was preparing a proposed deal to send to Washington in the next 2 to 3 days. A Virginia court on Thursday effectively blocked Democrats' planned April voter referendum to redraw the state's congressional maps, another potentially devastating blow to the party's effort to pick up 4 more U.S. House seats in the national redistricting battle. Virginia Democratic Attorney General Jay Jones has already vowed to appeal the ruling by a Tazewell Circuit Court, which granted a temporary restraining order requested by the Republican National Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee. The plaintiffs argue that the ballot referendum's timing and phrasing are illegal. The court's decision on Thursday, while temporary, could kill the referendum for this year if it withstands appeal. The restraining order is in effect until March 18th, and early voting is slated to start March 6th. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy on Friday announced sweeping changes to commercial trucking regulations, including a new requirement that all commercial driver's license exams be administered exclusively in English. Speaking at the Department of Transportation headquarters in Washington, D.C., Duffy and Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administrator Derek Bars said the move is aimed at strengthening oversight and ensuring drivers can read road signs and communicate with law enforcement. "What we're doing is implementing a rule that will say there's one language in which you can take your test. It's English only," Duffy said. "You take the test in English, you can't speak English, you can't read English, you're not going to do well on the test." The U.S. gross domestic product grew by an annualized 1.4% in the final quarter of last year, according to data the government released Friday. That's well below what economists expected, and also a big step down from the 4.4% it rose the quarter before. Economic growth was dragged down in part by the protracted government shutdown, and President Trump posted online before the numbers came out that the shutdown cost at least 2 points in GDP. Still, the economy grew overall for the year, bouncing back from shrinking in the first quarter. That's the Raw Naked Truth for February 23rd, 2026. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.